Hi, my name is Cameron Miller. I'm doing a series of YouTube videos for the role-playing game Pokemon Stories. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about catching Pokemon and how to do that. Now, the idea behind catching Pokemon is that I wanted it to be quick and light, and so I took Pokemon Go's style of just throwing Pokeballs and eliminating the battles so I can save those for more interesting fights. Now, the way trainers will be catching Pokemon, at least as I envisioned it, is they'll be spreading out, trying to rustle up as many Pokemon as they can, and then herding all of those into a central location. And to represent that, I have this chart here. Now, if you're the GM, you'll probably want to write down this chart and keep it handy, because you'll probably be catching Pokemon at least once per session, and this will come up very often. Now, the first column on this chart lists challenge rating. So you'll have to decide what challenge rating the encounter will be at before you announce it. Starter challenge rating will be good for the first session or two, but the players will quickly advance beyond that. Starter Pokemon have absolute minimum stats, and they only have 2 moves. Weak Pokemon get a 3rd move, and they have low stats. Average Pokemon have 4 moves, and their stats could be anywhere from, or their, I should say their EVs can be anywhere from 10 to 60. And that's a good challenge rating for the majority of your campaign. Average Pokemon will be good for the starting player, and yet even most of the way to the end, they could still end up being quite powerful. Strong Pokemon have 5 moves and even stronger stats, and then max Pokemon have maxed out stats and all 6 moves. So they are mostly used for legendaries and the very toughest of encounters at the end of the game. Now the second column here is the to capture number. This is the number of players need to beat when they're throwing a Pokeball. So players will be rolling a d6 and they're going to try to get higher than 1 if it's a starter Pokemon, 3 if it's an average challenge rating Pokemon, and if it's a maxed out Pokemon, they'll need to get a 6. Anything lower will not be sufficient to catch it. The nature roll is the roll needed to find an extra Pokemon in the wild. Now, during an encounter, when you announce it and the players go out looking for Pokemon, they'll automatically catch find one Pokemon at random in the wild. However, they can make a nature roll to find a second one, and the difficulty of that roll is determined by the challenge rating of the Pokemon, ranging from 70 to starter Pokemon, all the way up to 200 for maxed challenge rating Pokemon. The final column here is the damage column. If the Pokemon decides to attack, they can either attack one of the Pokemon the player has out, or if the player doesn't have any Pokemon out, attack the trainer directly. And how much damage that Pokemon does is based on its challenge rate. Now you could actually generate a character sheet for each Pokemon in the encounter and then use one of their moves, but I thought this would be a simpler method that doesn't require you to have a character sheet ready for each Pokemon, and just gives you a basic idea of the Pokemon can do about 60 damage, probably of its primary type. Now going on, the other chart you'll need to pay attention to is the encounter table. This lists all the Pokemon that are in the area, and what on the roll of a d20, their odds of being generated. So as GM, what you're going to do is you're going to announce, oh hey, you're in an area with wild Pokemon. If you want, you can roll to find one. So the players make their rolls, and going back, let's say we're doing a weak challenge rating. Now I know this table says starter level, but we're going to do it for weak today. So you're looking at weak. Players will need to roll higher than a 2 to capture a Pokemon. The difficulty for the nature roll is 100, and the damage Pokemon does is 40. So every player is going to try and roll 1d60, 2d60 if they have the nature skill, plus their mind score, and try and find some wild Pokemon. Anyone who gets 100 or higher gets to roll 2 dice on this table. Anyone who fails their roll only rolls 1, and keep in mind that players can also use their Pokemon to help out on this. So let's say you got 4 players, and 2 of them pass their nature rolls, so they get to roll 2 dice instead of 1. That's a total of 6 dice. And let's say they roll a 1, a pair of 6s, a 10, 17, and an 18. So you're going to set out markers for each of those Pokemon. Now, we don't recommend you let your players see this chart or know who rolled to get what Pokemon. That'll kind of make them think, well, I found this Pokemon, so I get the first chance to catch it. Rather, these are all the Pokemon they found together and all the Pokemon they have a chance of catching. So catching itself goes in two phases. There's going to be the player's phase and the Pokemon's phase. Now, during the player's phase, they go in initiative order by their nature roll. Whoever got the highest roll goes first. If there's a tie, it goes by speed. If there's still a tie, whoever has the highest sense. And if there's still a tie, whoever the GM likes best. So I've already laid out all the Pokemon that the players randomly rolled on the table for. And the player's going to try and catch these. Now, if you recall, the number to beat was 2. And we'll say the players each have just standard Pokeballs, so they only get 1 die to roll for catching. So let's say the first player tries to catch a Ledyba, rolls a 4, that's higher than a 2, so he catches it. The second player, she wants to catch the Sentret, so she rolls a die, and she gets a 5, again, that's a catch. The third player, he wants a Chikorita, so he rolls, gets a 2, doesn't catch it. And the fourth player, she wants a Chikorita as well, rolls a 4, catches it. Okay? That ends the player's turn pretty quickly. Then the opposing Pokemon get to go. And they can either attack or try to flee. We recommend that if the Pokemon looks a little bit faster than the average Pokemon to you as a GM, you have it flee on the first turn. Otherwise, it'll flee on the second turn. Unless it's a really slow Pokemon, then it'll try to flee on the third turn. And to run away, you just flip a coin for the Pokemon. If it's heads, Pokemon escapes. If it's tails, Pokemon does not escape. So, as a GM, let's say you think this Ledyba is going to be pretty fast because it's a flying type and it looks quickish. So you flip a coin for it. Heads, Ledyba escapes. Now we got 2 Pokemon left. Neither of those you feel is particularly faster or slower than the average Pokemon, so you have them attack. And they'll do 40 damage to one of the player's Pokemon that are out, of your choice. And there's no roll for that. It's just automatic damage. If the players don't have any Pokemon out, you can just attack the trainers directly. And so, Mareep, it's an electric type, so it does 40 electric damage. And this one will do 40 grass type damage. And then the players get to go again. So the first trainer, maybe he doesn't want to catch either of these 2 Pokemon, isn't really interested. And what he can do is try to weaken a Pokemon. And this can represent any of several things. The usual thing is you just have one of your Pokemon use an attack to lower the target's HP, or maybe inflict some sort of status effect. But you could also chuck a rock at it. Regardless, there's no roll for success. You just say, I'm going to weaken, say, that Mareep. And from now on, everyone gets an extra die to catch that Mareep. And then one of the last things a player can do is decide to just let a Pokemon go and even chase it off. And this automatically gets rid of the Pokemon from the encounter. This is most useful if you get a Pokemon that you know is going to cause problems, like let's say you've had a lot of Voltorb in the encounter, and you know they're just going to self-destruct and cause problems for everybody. So, you decide, hey, I want to let this one go. Now, we advise players not to be a jerk and let Pokemon go that they don't want, but they know their other players do, but it is technically allowed. So, if all the players talk and they decide no one wants the Sunkern, well, we can just say, chase it out of here, and it automatically escapes. That should be about it for Pokemon encounters. Thank you for your time, and good gaming.